They say that you can make a film good, cheap, and fast, but you can only pick two. So if you want it to be cheap and fast, it's not going to be good. From beginning until we released just this week, I can't believe I'm saying this, it's been over 6 years. A new motion picture has been released to the public this very week, and it might be the best movie ever of all time? Question mark? It's on YouTube for free. It's called Kiss Me Goodbye, and Leah and I made it, and we're going to talk about it. All the ways that it went sour and crazy and south, and all the ways that it was amazing and beautiful and good. So, by the way, we have a name. We have a name for the podcast. And without further ado, welcome to... All right, welcome back to another episode of this podcast, which has a name. It has been determined thanks to all of you out there who commented all of those wonderful ideas that I asked for. You know, nothing like asking the public that you get some help from their minds, and maybe you've got ideas of your own, but if you collectively bring your thoughts together to come up with an idea, finding Leah's hair in mine, which is not uncommon, that maybe you can really coalesce in your brilliance and come up with a great idea, only to find out that there's nobody really watching the episode. Certainly not enough to really contribute a meaningful conversation about the title of this podcast. But that's okay, because the journey of posting a few episodes of the podcast has really helped me find out what it is that I truly care about doing on this podcast. So I don't think I could have come up with a name at the beginning of this that accurately reflected the title, because you have to sort of just do it in order for you to figure out what it is that you're doing, I guess. And if that's not the theme of this episode, then I don't know what is, because we're also going to get into a very special film that was made from that very spirit of just going and doing. But on this topic of the title of the podcast, it was really nothing that anybody could contribute other than, I guess, me in my own journey of discovering what it really is. So the heart of it was I wanted this podcast to be a podcast about discussing film, but from a Christian perspective. However, if please do not walk away from your screen as if you're watching this on TV or something. Do not walk away, please, from this projected 35 millimeter podcast that you're watching in the cinemas. Like, you're not going to walk away. You've already clicked off. No, don't click off, because there's a whole conversation in the Christian world about just how terrible Christian movies are. We don't want to be a part of them. We hate that they preach to the choir, that they're clearly just marketed toward Christians, and yet they're about people converting from atheism to Christianity, or from some of they're almost, as I've described it in the past many times, they're almost masturbatory. Can I say that? I can. It's my podcast. They're a little bit self-fulfilling. They make the Christian feel like they're contributing to the kingdom of God, when in fact they're watching a movie about fake people converting to Christianity. That's why I appreciate production companies like the Kingdom Story Company, which is actually based here in Franklin, not far from Nashville. And They tell stories that aren't fake Christian stories about fake people converting fakely to Christianity. There are some amazing testimonies that are really out there. And they've found some really amazing stories. Like, I Can Only Imagine was a really breakthrough film. And I remember going to the theaters to see it. It was one of the only Christian films that I actually went to go see probably that entire year when it first came out. And it's since done other projects like that. All to say, as I deviate, that this is not a podcast that is trying to be Christianese in any way. Rather, the philosophy I think that is prevailing or growing in the Christian world is that what if Christians just made films that attempted to be good? And in the same vein, what if this podcast wasn't just like an explicitly Christian podcast, but was just trying to dissect films from someone who happens to have a Christian worldview and see what comes out on the other end? One example that really was kind of fascinating about that was our exploration into the Odyssey. I described what I felt to be the issue with the Odyssey, and it started out by just talking about how it was weird that they kind of gave away a lot of the tension of the story in the beginning by revealing him to be alive on this island. And as we discussed about potential solutions for that, came up with this idea that maybe he has been told that he's dead on this island, and so we therefore also don't know if he's dead on the island. And ultimately, the way that he realizes that he's not dead on this island in paradise and reflecting on the life that he lived is because if he was dead, he wouldn't be in paradise. He would be in Hades with his other soldiers. So he sort of has this epiphany and realizes, no, I can get off this island. I'm just stranded here. I can get back to my family. Someone in the comments said, that's a beautiful depiction of the gospel, that a man would go on a journey and be convinced that he's still alive. He's not in paradise because he doesn't deserve paradise. All have sinned and fallen short of the glory of God, blah, blah, blah. All the Christianese kind of starts arising out of that when you start to think about the implications of that. I wasn't trying to make this some sort of a Christianese version of the Odyssey. I, as a Christian, was just trying to follow what felt like the most compelling path. And I think that that's what happens when you apply Christians, to film. It's not like you have to come out with your Bible swinging, man. You don't need to make a movie about someone coming to Jesus. Jesus never told a story about anyone coming to Jesus. He told stories about farmers and people selling things and a servant, trying to like one up his master because he knows he's about to get fired, like a thief breaking in to steal everything from a man in a home. Like there's there are no stories about a man who came to Jesus and was converted and to really turned his life around. Like that's not the stories that he told or he cared to tell at all. So in the spirit of this truly Christian storytelling podcast, I came up with a title. And I'm getting right back on track again. I came up with a title for this podcast, and I won't waste your time anymore. The title is, well, you already know the title because you've seen it now. You see it on the little thumbnail, so it's not even a surprise to you. It's called Film Redemption. So I love that title because it's, of course, a kind of an homage to Shawshank Redemption. And it really encapsulates the spirit of what this show is supposed to be, which is that we will break down films only to build them back up again. That's what I really loved about The Odyssey was, first starting out with a criticism or trying to find some good things about it, but ultimately landing on what I didn't like about it, and then discussing out of that how it could have been better, hence redeeming the film. Now, again, I'm not one to say that the Odyssey needed to be redeemed, but if you watch the previous episode about it, I think I make a pretty good case that there could have been some good redemptive elements of that story. And I don't mean redemptive necessarily in like, again, the faith-based world, but just a better story. I think that you could have redeemed that middle storyline of old Odysseus alone on the island with Calypso. You could have redeemed some elements. They were a little bit clunky, a little bit didn't quite take all of the meal. You left some stuff on the table there. So this podcast is not only going to criticize movies, it's not just going to sit here and crap on film, because I'm a filmmaker. I actually know film. And I made a film, which I'm about to tell you about. So it's more for the purpose of redeeming the film. You break it down, you build it back up again, and maybe you've improved upon it. So Film Redemption is the name of the podcast. It's got a little dog whistle to Christians, but it's mostly just trying to have a good conversation about film, and remember to stay on track that these are for good purposes, for good intentions. We don't want to just shit on movies. We don't want to get into the culture wars of storytelling. We want to look at film and we want to genuinely analyze it, assess it, and from my perspective, the dynamic perspective of a human, which we all have very dynamic and unique perspectives, we're going to try to build these stories back up again. So welcome to Film Redemption. I'm your host, Philip Abraham, and I want to break down kind of a film. This is the main thrust, the meat and potatoes of this episode. It's a very special film that was released onto YouTube, actually, just this week. And it was just straight up just tossed onto YouTube for free for anyone to watch. And it's a feature-length film, and it's called Kiss Me Goodbye. This is sort of the new wave of filmmaking, is for new filmmakers, they just want eyes. There is a traditional film distribution model that has all but died, really. I mean, certainly the traditional route where you do festivals and then studios pick your film up and then they distribute it into theaters. That is for the elite. That is for the big ones. Then there's the less antiquated and yet still outdated model of digital distribution, where you use an aggregate or a distributor who has their connections to different streaming platforms, and maybe they can throw yours up onto enough platforms that you can start to recoup some money, but of course it comes at a cost, either up front or by percentage, certainly, and then ownership even of this project that you have put your heart and soul into. And so filmmakers are just going to YouTube and they're just saying, here is our movie. Curry Barker did that with a film before Obsession. He put his film up onto YouTube and it got hundreds of thousands of views. I mean, it wasn't groundbreaking in its viewership, but it got attention and it proved himself as a filmmaker. And that is how he raised the money to make Obsession, was that proof that he's a filmmaker. He makes features. We could go down the line, Back Doors and Iron Lung. There's a whole group, kind of a new collection of YouTube filmmakers that are taking the industry by storm. And maybe this film, Kiss Me Goodbye, is another one of those. This is me speaking hopefully, because if you haven't figured it out already, Kiss Me Goodbye is my movie that I made with my wife, Leah. It's a passion piece to the core. It might be the most intimate feature film that you can imagine in every sense. It's about love, very, very close to our love, the way that we met, the things that we were dealing with as we were together and we were dating, the questions about love and if it'll endure in Hollywood, and self-interested pursuits and other things that kind of get in the way, even geography and timing and other relationships. Of course, it's creatively interpreted, it's inspired, by true stories, and we'll get more into kind of how it was inspired. But it's fiction. It came from our hearts, and it's actually a musical from songs that we wrote either together or separate before we met, and we collected sort of a string of stories around these songs in order to make a movie. It was as if we kind of had 7 or 8 tentpole moments in music video form that we wanted to film based off these songs, but we asked ourselves, well, what would the narrative of this feature-length film be if we went from one song to the next, to the next, to the next? And, well, what if we swapped this song out for that song? How could we tell the story? We kind of built it like that, and what naturally came out was a semi-autobiographical narrative of us, finding love in unexpected places. So yeah, it's called Kiss Me Goodbye, and I just want to kind of dive into a little bit of the behind the scenes and tell you how we made it, and all the crazy stories behind that. If you're an aspiring filmmaker, there are lessons that I learned about making films here from the no budget category that I think are extremely valuable. So it's not like I have a list of the 5 things that you need to know if you're going out to make a movie, but just by me telling you a little bit about how we made the film and what it's about, I want you, hopefully you can glean from it. But all to say that this is extremely intimate. We had a crew of maybe 3 to 4 people on any given day, and they were mostly family members. Some of it was shot during COVID, so we had a very, very skeleton crew, especially of people who, were just maybe they were living. Like my dad, I taught him how to be the sound guy, how to hold a boom and be the boom operator, and my brother would be not only my actual brother in the film acting in it, but also was a production assistant when he wasn't on camera. So thanks, Lauren, by the way, and thanks, Dad. They've been varying levels of supportive. Lauren's not a very supportive guy in general. He's a little bit tongue-in-cheek, kind of, he's sarcastic no matter what. So you got to kind of like weed through the sarcasm to find a compliment. Or maybe he's critiquing you, and you'd rather not wade through that sarcasm. My dad, though, he has been extremely supportive from the beginning. Both my parents have. My mom kind of from a distance, go get him, to my dad, he's attended the film festivals that we went to, and he's financially supported the film, and then of course, like I said, was on set for a lot of it. I directed the film. Leah and I wrote the film. We are the lead actors in the film. There's maybe 5 or 6 other significant actors that have actual lines and roles. None nearly as significant as us. And then, like I said, Lauren is my brother. He plays Travis, my brother, in the film. That's probably the 3rd most significant role. And it's like it was just like a family affair. Leah's brother Gabriel plays a character in the film as well. He's like the head and shoulders like most accomplished actor over all of us. He plays like a landlord for one scene in the movie. It was all hands on deck when it came to making this film, and we pulled a lot of favors from close friends and family in order to make it happen. So yeah, it took from concept, from beginning until we released just this week. It has been, I can't believe I'm saying this, it's been over 6 years. 6 years making this film. Now, I will kind of caveat that with the fact that we finished the film more or less, mostly, completely finished the film in the early part of last year and started doing festivals. Tweaked little things with each festival as we went to improve it, but basically finished it at the beginning of 2025. Kind of funny story behind that is that at the end of 2024, like Christmas Eve, and we'd already been working on the film for 3.5 years, And I got a call from the festival director at Beaufort International Film Festival, which was a festival that we were recommended to by our friends Chris and Kelsey Guerra. They had gone on the festival route in previous years with a movie that they had made, and kind of recommended some really sweet ones that are, it's like you can get into them, you can actually have a good time, but they're actually good festivals. Which is a whole thing, the waste of time that you and money that you could spend on festivals and submitting to festivals is it's a whole thing. And maybe we'll do an episode on that. But basically, the director of this festival that I kind of prematurely submitted my film to called me and said, "Hey, we just want you to know that you've been accepted to Beaufort International Film Festival." And we would love just to make sure that you're going to be good to, I know it's a work in progress and you're good to finish it. And yeah, great. Sounds good. Definitely very excited. Get off the phone. I'm like, oh my gosh, I need to finish this movie. I've got like 2 months before the film premieres and probably 6 weeks before I have to have it finished and fully submitted to them. So I just sprinted at the beginning of 2025 to finish this movie, and it was crazy. It was very, very stressful. Added on top with the fact that we just did not have that time to justify doing a film, doing work for free, and yet you kind of have to. Like, we submitted to this festival the year before as a work in progress, and there was no way I was going to finish. I said, "I'm sorry, I can't. Maybe next year, and here I am a year later." It's embarrassing, man, to continue to have this work in progress year in and year out. So I'm like, you know what? I got to do it. I got to finish this film. And if I hadn't written a letter to Leah at the end of the year, I wouldn't have really remembered what my mental state was. But we write these letters to each other on January 1st, but we seal them up and we don't read them until the end of the year, really until January 1st the next year. And so at the end of the year, I got to open this up and read and remember what my mental state was after hearing that we'd gotten into this festival, but I had to put all of this work into the film that had been honestly a burden on us since we were married, really. When we started filming in 2020 and we got married in 2019, less than a year before we started production, we'd already been writing the script. We'd already thought about it, So yeah, it was years in the making already. And I wrote to Leah, "Hey, if I'm still in this space and we're still making kind of the same amount of money, can you just tell me to go get a job? Does anybody even like the film at the festival? Like, we're going to Beaufort in a couple months as I write this letter. Is it even good? Does anyone even care about it? Does anyone like it at all? Like, no one's even seen it. They're going to see it for the first time at this little festival, quaint, awesome festival, by the way, Beaufort. But like I just wrote, I said, will anyone even like it?" And for those next several weeks, I bust my ass and we're documenting the entire thing. And even in the documentary of it, you can see it on our YouTube. I'm just like, man, we're not in a place to be able to put the time and effort into to finish a film and go to a festival, but we just got to do it. You can't quit. You can't. We've gone too far already. Will it be good? We don't know. So we go to this festival. Beaufort, South Carolina is just gorgeous, and it was a great respite from regular life and a great celebration of just having completed the film. And the premiere is sold out. The festival is really unique in that there's only one theater. And so all of the films that premiere at this festival will be seen by all audience goers. So there's not you don't have to make a choice as a festival goer whether you're going to go into theater 1 or theater 4, right, and see this movie or that movie. Like, it's all one homogenous experience for everybody who attends, which means that you get pretty good turnout for every film, or every short block, as they call it for short films. But ours was particularly full. It was a sold out theater, and we were kind of shocked by that. Like, it was crazy. But I think that it certainly wasn't our marketing or anything like that. We didn't have pamphlets, and all these people had like pamphlets and cards and posters and stuff that they printed, and we didn't have any of that. It was that this was a romance. It felt like a heartwarming film, whereas a lot of the films that we saw that were these indie pieces were maybe horror or suspense thrillers, or maybe they were even just like mission pieces that were trying to get a really strong point across, whether they were documentaries or, they were fictional narratives. They had a bend to them that felt very serious and very dark. And this was just a love story. So it caught people's attentions. And we got to go up and do a Q&A at the end of the film, which was par for the course for everybody. And we got this ovation that was just it was like, having been to the festival for a few days at this point, we knew it was different. We knew that it was loud, and people really they loved to see the film as we walked up and sat down. And then we got another applause after we sat down and were introduced, and then we got another applause, and then we just I don't know, it was just like, it was this warm and fuzzy, man. It was really just like so beautiful. It was so heartwarming to get that kind of reception for the film. When we got there and started learning about the festival, we discovered that the Audience Choice Award was something that we were automatically up for because we were in the festival. There are best pictures, best feature length film that we were up for as well, but we didn't. Well, I don't know about any of that stuff. There were some really good films, but the Audience Choice Award was an award that we were up for as well. And after our premiere, we started to get the feeling like maybe we could win this award. It's the most coveted award, really, of the festival. It's the one the audience chooses. It says, yeah, the jury might choose this feature-length film because it's the budget, the value, or the production value, or just it's almost like a film critic's perspective of which was the best movie. But the audience choice is the one that really just grabs the heart. It doesn't have to be shot on an amazing camera. Ours was not shot on an amazing camera. Not even as good as this one. It doesn't have to be perfect in its execution. It just has to grab the hearts. And that's what we were trying to do from the get-go. We knew that we didn't have all the best equipment and all the money in the world. It was like spare time and free time, spare change. And so we thought maybe we could win the award. And the way that we learned that this was such a special award was that we went to the awards ceremony, which was also held in this theater, and it was like a black tie affair. It felt like it was like the Oscars, where they have a host come up and the announcements and you go from one award to the next, and there's a whole rack, kind of like 2 rows of awards that they're handing off that's on stage, and they have a model come and grab one and hand it over to the host, and they announce them as they go. And the Audience Choice Award is not being announced. Like, there's best short film, there's best feature length film. All of these are being best directors being announced. That Audience Choice Award is dead last. It's the last trophy sitting there on the mantle. And so we feel like either we're fools to hope that we could win this award, or maybe either way, we're on the edge of our seat, trying not to think it's that serious, trying to think that maybe we don't have a chance, hoping that we do, trying to be positive thinkers. It's all running around in our minds. And they describe the Audience Choice Award. It was such a blur at the time, but in listening to it back, because again, we're documenting this whole thing. I have my camera kind of like propped up, and it's the one that captures the heart. And, so they give this amazing introduction to the award, and they say, all right, without further ado, the winner of the Beaufort International Film Festival Audience Award goes to, and they click open the thing, and they look at the card, and they say, "Kiss Me Goodbye." And we're like, oh my gosh. It was pure elation. I mean, thinking about this, 4 years of a process to make this film even exist, and its world premiere in Beaufort, South Carolina, wins the Audience Choice Award. I have to be an honest person. We had originally had a different title for the film, and it's changed since then. So they actually said, "Where Were You" is the name of the film, and we won. We were super excited about it. Now it's called Kiss Me Goodbye. So just remember Kiss Me Goodbye forever. It's not Where Were You. It's Kiss Me Goodbye. And yeah, like, just what a life-giving moment, man. That's what it's about. That's what it's for. It's at those times when you sort of forget all the pain and all the anguish for a little bit, and you remember why you set out to do this. You want to touch the hearts of people who are out there in the audience. And so I'm also just really proud of Leah, because I think Leah brought so much heart to this film. I am a cerebral person. I'm a structure guy, and it takes getting from my cerebral kind of rational thought process to get into my heart, right? Like I have to almost think that it's profound and important and heart touching in order for my heart to feel. It's weird. And Leah brings naturally feeling and heart and sensitivity and intuition. And so several of her songs were just like the core of the film. I mean, the film used to be called, as I said, "Where Were You?" And that's based off of a song that she wrote. I mean, in 2 hours, she wrote this one song totally from the heart, from a place of heartbreak, from a place of devastation, but she put it out there. And it became the actual basis of our film. "Kiss Me Goodbye" is actually just a lyric from that song. And so we just found that was maybe a more fitting title because of the actual narrative of the feature film. And so, yeah, she just brought so much to it. And I think that it was her heart and her willingness to be vulnerable, and for her to represent her vulnerability in her character and in her music, that really captured the hearts of the audience. That being said, I dragged her through all of it. Like I dragged her kicking and screaming to make this movie. I don't know. I would like to think that she would say the same thing, because she was very reluctant. I mean, at times she would be negative about whether it would be successful or anything like that. But no, at the core of it, it was a resistance to that vulnerability. It was a resistance to, yes, the vulnerability of putting something out there, making a film, performing as an actor because she's the lead of the film, but also the vulnerability of the content, the topic matter. It is a love story, but it also goes pretty deep into the things that might hold someone back from receiving love. And that was all, her heart. It was all her writing. It was all her music. And so for a variety of reasons, I was the go-getter driver to make it happen, finish this film. And of course, I was directing it and editing it. So I was doing the bulk of the physical effort and labor to kind of like finish it up, right? To like tidy it up, actually have a finished piece. But when she was writing, when she would help produce it, and then of course when she was performing, acting, and singing in it, it was a tumultuous, very difficult 4 years, and all the way up until this week, it has been this burden, which, passion is really the, if you've seen the film Passion of the Christ, it's a more particular use of that word passion. People who have a passion for film, if you have a passion to be a writer or to be a filmmaker, that word is more carried with a sense of burden. Vocation is a calling. The Passion of the Christ is, of course, it's the story of the absolute sacrifice and torture of Jesus. And so our experience in this was absolutely a pure passion. The burden, the weight. I think I might have been sweating blood, just like Jesus was at some point, with the anxiety, not about carrying the burdens of the world, but just about finishing the edit on time. So is that heretical? I don't know. I wasn't actually sweating blood. Anyway, it's neither here nor there. It was a very, very difficult journey. So maybe a lesson for filmmakers out there is just a recognition that the film that you're going to make, if you're going to make it indie, low budget, on your own dime, it's going to take a long time. They say that you can make a film good, cheap, and fast, but you can only pick two. So if you want it to be cheap and fast, it's not going to be good. If you want it to be good and fast, not going to be cheap. But we chose for it to be good and cheap, which means it's not going to be fast. It's going to be very slow. It's a slow process. So we chose that path, and boy, was it true. It just took so long. We didn't even do like weekends of production. We would do every 8 weeks, maybe. We could do a weekend of production. We could do a 1 day or maybe 2 days where we'd shoot another 15 to 20 minutes of the film, And that happened over the course of 3 years, and the editing happened simultaneously. It was sort of this ebb and flow of development and writing into production or pre-production, and then into production, and then post-production for what we had shot. And then a big breath, a big exhale, a kind of recuperation from the expense of it, the investment of it, the time that we'd taken out of our days, out of our weeks, and the money that we had spent to make that portion happen. And then months go by, and then I say, okay, we got to do another day. We've got to shoot another piece. And a little bit of that served the film, actually, because it's a little bit like the last 5 years, in that the film The Last 5 Years, where you actually follow the progression of the relationship over the course of years of time. So you can actually see us grow up a little bit from the beginning of the film to the end of the film. You see us age, we look different, our hair's changed, and we genuinely kind of look a few years older. Now the contrast is stark, man. Looking at the footage of when we first shot, the first couple of days at the beginning of the movie, to me now, I am looking at the monitor and it's not looking good. I'm a different man now than I was, but in different ways. I was a scrawny guy. I was a little stick back then, man. So I put on some weight in good ways and bad ways, but it's neither here nor there. It's crazy to look back and see the pictures. This is us. This was closer to the time that we shot most of the film than now. This was our wedding day 7 years ago. I was a kiddo. I was a kid, That's what we were back then. Anyway, so I feel like I'm around a campfire telling stories now, but that was a crazy part of the journey. Was just the longevity of it. it took a long, long time to make this film. The whole free time and spare change kind of way of making a movie, it is not for the faint of heart. I'll tell you that much. Like, you have to have a willingness to just continue to push, to continue to make it happen. Ask for favors, set some time out of your day. You've got to put some money into it, raise some money. We did a fundraiser and got some support, but about $9,000. And then I think GoFundMe took 1,000 of it, so it was really genuinely just like mostly a self-funded production. And then after the festival route, we had meetings with distribution companies. The premiere at the Hollywood Chinese Theater, which is the most famous theater in the world, was a good door opener for some of those relationships. We had a meeting with a distributor who, was the premier distributor probably at the festival. And it just seemed like the biggest asset to distributing and giving 7 years of license to our movie that we very intimately made, that is very personal to us. The biggest asset was our following, like people who watch Leah and Philip and who really support us already. And so we decided to try to do something around like Film Hub and maybe like a distribution model that's a little bit more like a simpler aggregate where you just put it up on a platform, and then Film Hub will, I guess, negotiate or kind of pitch the film to different distributors from Tubi to, Amazon and YouTube movies and whatnot, so we tried to do that, but there's hidden expenses kind of. This, like, everything is expensive, right? So we kept on bumping up against the kind of the max of that threshold, whether you're going to make this good, cheap, or fast, right? Even in completion, we were sitting here in the distribution phase going, well, we can't spend that kind of money on it. Maybe we should have, but at the same time, we didn't have a guarantee that we could get this money back. And we'd already given of all of that money and time into the film. And so it continued to feel like this stressful pull, like an expense that we didn't budget for. And we had to make those decisions again and again and again. And it just took so long to get on the platform, get their professional sort of quality control approval. We had a name change, which was my own thing, my own little hiccup. But ultimately it was like we found out that we would be waiting. We'd be waiting for potentially a long time, months. And we would, for one particular streamer that we really wanted to get it onto, we wouldn't even get a word back from them if they didn't accept the film. Like, there wasn't going to be a, hey, thanks a lot for your for submitting, for pitching, but no, we're not going to do it. Thank you. And it was at that point that literally a year had gone by, and I realized, oh, you know what? It's time. Leah had said this months ago, and that's why we started doing this sort of self-distribution route, but it was taking forever. There was no platform that we felt like comfortable sharing it with people. So we just said, you know what? We're doing it. We're going to put it out onto YouTube. And we want eyes. We just want eyes to see it. That's all that matters. We just want as many people to see it as possible. This film has never been about money. It's never been a financial investment. It's been a heart investment. It's been an investment for the sake of showing people what we love to do, what we're capable of. If you give us $9,000, we can make this movie over the course of 6 years. Now imagine what we could do if you actually gave us a budget for a film, right? Like, that's what we're hoping for. And I mentioned these other now major players in the industry who are all former kind of YouTube sensations or YouTube content creators that, frankly, Leah and I kind of relate to. Curry Barker was making short comedy sketches on YouTube and Instagram. And we were making the content right there alongside them. You know, it's like we're seeing, oh, that was a funny one. These guys are these YouTube content creators. And then he, released a movie. He went and got funding for another one. He produced it, and then it blew up big time. So, and he's an outlier for sure. But he started on YouTube, and he put his projects out there just to let them be seen. So that's ultimately what we just kind of decided to do. We just were like, you know what, let's just let it be seen by people. So in the first couple of days, I think it's got like 20,000 views, which I'm really proud of. There's perpetual marketing to do, basically meaning, make short videos, like short reels you can put on Instagram, and particularly shorts that you can put onto YouTube Shorts. And in YouTube Shorts, there's actually a little, you've probably seen it before, there's a little recommendation for another video. And a recommended video is something that you can, as the creator, select. Like if you want to recommend a different video that you've also produced that's on your channel, maybe the longer form version of the little short that you posted, then they can click on it right there. So we're going to continue to post shorts on YouTube Shorts that are highlights from the film, that are little segments, maybe some of us talking about the film and how we made it. And then that link right down there, you can click on it. You can watch the full film on YouTube for free. And just hoping that it gets up to 100,000 views or 200,000 views. And most importantly, even beyond that, that it opens other doors. The best opportunities that we have seen in the last year came from people who had seen our film. It wasn't that many people, right? We would send private links over to people, or for a few months there was an opportunity for people to see it on our Patreon behind a paywall. And anyone who saw the film, of course, you could see it in festivals. And there were times when some people saw it in festivals and they reached out. But most of the opportunities were somehow connected to the people, to people who had seen the film. And so that's what I'm hoping for. I'll say it. I'm praying for it. I'm praying for the open doors and the connections of people who see it, who can really understand the love and the effort that it took to make it, and appreciate the quality of the film. So that's our movie, Kiss Me Goodbye. You can watch it on YouTube right now. I'll put a link down in the bio for you to be able to go see the film, and please leave a comment on there, share it with your friends. I will admit to you, I can't believe I did this, but yesterday after we released it, I took a break. We did a little kind of Sabbath dinner with some friends, which kind of got me in that zone of just taking a rest. And I sat down on the couch behind me and I watched the movie again. Which doesn't make any sense because I've seen it a million times. But man, it's got some really real heart, man. It had me in tears. And it's weird to say that as the creator of the film, but as an audience member, I mean, genuinely, I think it's got some real heart. But don't take my word for it. Certainly, go and watch it for yourself. Like I said, there's going to be a link down beneath in the bio to go watch this movie, and I would love your feedback. Both of us would. You're probably going to be seeing a little bit more about it, but if you follow Leah and Philip on YouTube, then you're definitely going to be seeing more content around the movie. And so that's really like I said, the meat and the potatoes of this episode of Film Redemption. Genuinely, if you have been a supporter and a fan of Film Redemption for all of this 1 hour that it's existed with that name, I really genuinely want to thank you. We're just getting started here. You can tell this is going to be a long grind for podcasting. It's just it's a passion of mine. And a passion sometimes means there's not a return. There's not all the eyes in the world. You're just putting in those hours to, to let your voice out there. But the heart, it's always going to be there. My heart is to take a look at films and to break them down so that we can learn to be better storytellers ourselves. I just want a lot of Christians out there who know how to tell really good stories, not slop, not proselytization, not propaganda, but just really good stories. That's the way that the world is impacted and that culture is swayed, is by stories that really touch the heart, that are really meaningful. And you can't get around it. You can't tell it from this perspective of, oh, I'd love for the audience to like it. You have to tell it from your heart. And yes, the skill and the tools of filmmaking need to kind of be second nature to you. So it's my effort, my endeavor to tell this podcast, to keep it going, is to watch films and to continue to extrapolate the best parts of them and apply them to my own storytelling and, even to my life. So if that's what you're all about, then please click subscribe down below so you can get all the updates and every time I post. And please leave a comment. The engagement right now, it's so thin that I will guarantee you I'm going to comment back to you. We can have a conversation. If you've got any questions about our film, Kiss Me Goodbye, then leave those. We will be talking about it a lot more. But for now, thanks a lot for listening, in, watching in. And again, go watch Kiss Me Goodbye on YouTube. It's free right now. This is Philip Abraham signing off with Film Redemption. Until next time.